Welcome to Fun with History with Professor Banks. And today we are going to wrap up our weeks on the 80s. So today we are looking at the Big 80s Part 2. And this is Fun with History with Professor Banks number 32. The Big 80s Part 2, subtitled Challenger and Chernobyl. So that is our lesson for today. And I might want to add as well, I'm wearing something specific as I can to the 80s. This shirt is actually a little bit of a tie-dye shirt. I don't know if you can tell, but it is kind of a little bit tie-dye. And tie-dye was a fashion that came into play in the 80s. So this is all I have for the 80s. I know it's not as great as my 70s or 60s, but that is what it is. So shall we get into this, shall we? And let's get our music going, and let's get into this lesson, shall we? Fun with History with Professor Banks, the Big 80s, Part 2. Welcome to Fun with History with Professor Banks. And if you could believe it, we're going to wrap up yet another decade today. And then next week, we're going to be getting even closer to our modern day decade. So, I should have also subtitled this. I should, and I am going to right now. Okay? It's not only Challenger and Chernobyl. Let's subtitle this the Information Age. Because really, once you get into the 80s and 90s, a lot of people refer to it as the Information Age because we start to really get into an age where we can easily connect with everybody across the world in instant seconds. So, Information Age, okay? All right. I also want to apologize if a few times I cough or something like that. I have been battling a cold all week, so very frustrating, but nevertheless, not anything too major, so hopefully I won't cough too much during this lesson. Okay, so the Big 80s, Part 2. First, I want to share with you a new little toy that I got this week. It's a great resource, okay? I got myself this. So, what this is an atlas of world history. And I was quite pleased with it. I actually found it on Amazon. It's a used book too. It looks brand new. It's in great shape. But it goes through all the time periods that a lot of them we have covered ever since the beginning of the creation of the world. Even talks about the ice ages and goes into the first civilizations. Gives a nice little write-up about them. Gives a little bit of a timeline. And then it's got corresponding maps with each one too. So it's a very good book. Very good. And if you love history and love geography put together and like to see pictures of what places looked like during different times of history, this is a great book. And it's actually, a lot of people recommend this even higher than the Oxford Atlas. So it is a very good book. It's written by a man named John Haywood, and he has a PhD, so he's pretty smart. So anyway, I wanted to share that with you. So what I'm going to do first is, of course, get into the joke of the week. And this is a good one this week, folks, so I hope you enjoy it. It's about something that a lot of us get really annoyed with, and that is those telemarketers that call you. Anybody else get annoyed with those? Yeah. Like they call up and they want to bug you about something. gets to a point now where I just ignore the call if it looks like one of those numbers, a 1-800 number or whatever. Just say, I don't want to be bothered with it. Okay, so here are some suggested comebacks to some of these persistent telephone sales callers, okay? I'm sorry, but I'm really busy right now. Give me your home number and I'll call you back later tonight. In the middle of the caller's sales pitch, interrupt with, what causes a hiccup? Or how about this one? I love this one. Shh! Wait a minute. I'm here robbing the house. Whoa, I think the owners just got home. Can you hold? When someone asks whether a spouse is at home, yes, but I never allow him or her to talk to strangers. When someone asks you how you are, well, I'm having an existential crisis at the moment. Let me explain. You want to sell me insurance? I've been trying to get insurance for years, but nobody will sell me any. To a salesperson with a rug cleaning service, whisper, do you get goat's blood out? How about identifiable fibers and that DNA stuff? Another response to a rug cleaning sales call, break into tears and say, is this some kind of joke? My house burnt down last night. We lost everything. To a phone company solicitor, that sounds great. Wait, can you hold for a minute? Leave the phone off the hook until the telemarketer hangs up. All right, so there you have it. There's some good comebacks to those persistent telemarketers, sales callers that call you. I haven't tried any of those yet. It'd be fun to try them with somebody, maybe. I will admit, one time I picked up the phone and I said, ne parlez-vous anglais? So I made them think I spoke in French and I hung up the phone. So anyway, or you can do what I do and just ignore the stupid ring when it comes in as well. But that is our joke of the week. Okay, so we're going to finish the 80s here with a couple of events that happened in the 80s. Excuse me, there I go coughing. But first, what I want to do is share with you a cool invention from the 80s. Okay? And this is the invention. How about this? Came out in 1982. They came out together, and that is audio CD players. So yes, audio CD players and CDs have been commercially available since October 1982, when the first commercially available CD player was released in Japan. So, CDs came out in the 80s. So in case anybody was curious at the CDs and when they came out, that is when they came out, 1982. Now CDs are kind of extinct now because now we're into the age of MP3 players, iPod players, so very rarely do you see people carrying around a CD with them, and they're not much value anymore, CDs. So, but there you have it, 1982. Okay, so what I want to do today is share with you a couple of specific events from the 80s. The first one I'm going to share with you is actually the first one I really remember well. And I can remember it being so sad and tragic in a way. And then at the end, I'm going to leave you with a special treat. So I hope you enjoyed a special treat at the end. But what I want to do is share these two events with you. So the first thing I want to share with you is, actually I got, again, just like last week when I did it, I got a breaking news story. So this is actually reporting live on this event. Okay, so this is an event that happens in 1986, January 28th of 1986. So just give me a second. I'll get it queued up for you, and I think it'll bring back memories for a lot of you. You should remember this, okay? So January 28th, 1986.
Let's go down to the Kennedy Space Center and take a look at Challenger sitting on the pad. 9, 8, 7, 6. We have main engine start. 4, 3, 2, 1, and liftoff. Liftoff of the 25th Space Shuttle mission, and it has cleared the tower. So the 25th Space Shuttle mission is now on the way after more delays than NASA cares to count. This morning it looked as though they were not going to be able to get off. 1 minute 15 seconds, velocity 2,900 feet per second, altitude 9 nautical miles, downrange distance 7 nautical miles. Looks like a couple of the solid rocket boosters blew away from the side of the shuttle in an explosion. Flight controllers here looking very carefully at the situation. Obviously a major malfunction. We're waiting word. They're holding their breath just, I'm sure, as everyone else is. In the center of the fire and the smoke, you can't see any form of what was once the shuttle. You saw it just a few moments ago, about 45 seconds after liftoff, a huge fireball in the sky. We have a report from the flight dynamics officer that the vehicle has exploded. Our director confirms that. We are looking at checking with the recovery forces to see what can be done at this point. Contingency procedures are in effect. Oh, yeah. Right, 2 crews out of Miami. And how many crews we got to? So we got 4 crews. We got 3. How many at the space center?
Okay, this is Professor Banks back again. And, so what happened there was the Space Shuttle Challenger lifted off on their mission, and this happened in the this took off from Florida, and I apologize for the video on that when it got a little green. I don't know, my computer sometimes the videos don't work right for some reason, but so anyway, 7 crew members aboard the Space Shuttle Challenger, and they all died as the rocket ship exploded, obviously. Most of the pieces, most of the spaceship landed in the Atlantic Ocean. So a very, very tragic, sad day, obviously. And it was tragic. I remember it very well because I had gone home for lunch from school, and I saw it kind of almost not that long after it happened on the TV, and I was just like, wow, that's pretty sad. So, the O-rings of the right booster malfunctioned apparently, And this was a very controversial event because there were safety issues aboard this rocket ship. It was very cold. We had a very cold time leading up to that, and it was pretty cold in terms of Florida weather anyway, the day of the liftoff. And the safety issues were more or less disregarded. NASA managers had known the contractor Morgan Thicko's design of solid rocket boosters contained. They had known that his design contained potential devastating flaws in the O-ring since 1977, but failed to address it properly. So that was something that a lot of people were upset about, especially when this came out after the fact. It was like, why didn't they take more care of this ship? Why didn't they look at it more carefully? Why didn't they take the safety of it more carefully? But it was one of the greatest disasters in rocket ship history, really. And as I said, all 7 crew members were aboard, even a teacher. There was even a teacher that was going along, I think for part of the news story or something like that. But yeah, they all died, and very tragic day. This was January 28th, 1986. The Space Shuttle Challenger exploded 73 seconds after takeoff. Okay, so that's the first event I want to talk to you about. Now let's go to the second event, and it also happened in 1986. Happened quite a bit. Happened a lot further away than Florida. It happened over in Europe, at a place called Chernobyl. Anybody here have heard of Chernobyl? Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this up to you too. Not on a video, but I have something here to bring up. Just give me a second. So there you have it, right there, the Chernobyl disaster. Okay, so I have this. This is off Wikipedia. So I'm gonna read a bit to you about it, and that's how I'm gonna share this with you. The Chernobyl disaster, also referred to as the Chernobyl accident or simply Chernobyl, was a catastrophic nuclear accident that occurred on April 26, 1986, and the number 4 light water graphite moderated reactor at the Chernobyl nuclear plant in the city of Pripyat, and what was then known as the Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic of the Soviet Union. During an impatient late-night power failure stress test in which safety systems were deliberately turned off, a combination of inherent reactor design flaws together with the reactor operators arranging the core in a manner contrary to the checklist for the stress test eventually resulted in uncontrolled reaction conditions that flashed water into steam, generating a destructive steam explosion and a subsequent open-air graphite fire that burned for 9 days, releasing plumes of radioactive isotopes into the atmosphere, spreading over much of Western Soviet Union and Europe. The Chernobyl disaster was the worst nuclear power plant accident in history in terms of cost and casualties. It is only one of 2 classified as a Level 7 event, the maximum classification on the nuclear event scale. The other being the Fukushima nuclear disaster in Japan in 2011, which has obviously happened as a result of a tsunami there. The struggle to safeguard against scenarios which were perceived as having the potential for greater catastrophe in the latter decontamination efforts of the surroundings ultimately involved over 500,000 workers and cost an estimated 18 billion rupees. During the accident itself, 2 deaths occurred. 31 people died in the following months from acute radiation syndrome, with long-term effects such as cancer still being investigated. And there you can see right there, that is the picture of the nuclear reactor that we're talking about in Chernobyl. So, two major kind of significant events that happened really within spans of months of each other, okay? One in January, one in April of 1986. So that was the Chernobyl disaster, okay? So, apologize for a delay. I'm just trying to get that off my screen. So, that is what I wanted to share with you today, those two events. And let me wrap up the Chernobyl thing a little bit for you as well. They are estimating 93,000 cancer deaths worldwide as a result of this nuclear meltdown, and specifically in Western Russia, Europe, and Belarus was the worst hits by this. So it was a very big event, and it caused a lot of long-term effects. Anytime you're dealing with nuclear stuff, right? Long-term effects. That's why nuclear stuff is kind of scary. And they're estimating radiation 200 times greater than that, not greater than what was released by Hiroshima and Nagasaki, okay? So remember those were a part of World War II, right? The two atomic bombs that were dropped on Japan. So they're estimating that Chernobyl had radiation 200 times greater than that. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? I already talked about how much radiation effects were caused by the two bombs on Japan, but this was 200 times greater. Unbelievable. And nuclear rain, okay, I talked about that. That was also something that happened with the two bombs in Japan. Nuclear rain was seen as far as Ireland. So that is an extent of how far it went, okay? Ireland is way up there, right? Ireland is way up there by England. So a pretty significant worldwide event that happened in 1986. So that's Chernobyl. So Chernobyl and the Space Shuttle Challenger were the two events I wanted to talk to you about today to wrap up the big 80s. Now what I want to do to end this lesson is take you back to the 80s in a way, because this literally was the 80s. So what I got here is back in the day, I don't know if anybody else would remember this or not, but I used to go to amusement parks a lot when I was younger. Cedar Point was one of my favorites in Ohio, and this is actually where this was done. But these amusement parks used to have what was called superstar recording studios. So they were a lot of fun. They were a lot of fun because you'd go into them. I can't remember how much they cost, like maybe $15-20 or something like that, around there. You would go there and they would have a whole bunch of songs to choose from. Okay, and then you would pick a song, and as soon as a studio room became open, you would be put in a studio room complete with the lyrics in front of you, headset, and they would play the song into your headset, and you would sing along on a mic, and they would record you. So I loved to do that. I did that about 4 times, and I still have the tapes up to this day. So this leads me into my treat. Okay, so what I have here is a hit song from the 80s. I sang it in the 80s. So I kind of got a little kid's voice. So yeah, Professor Banks with a little kid's voice. So yeah, I recorded this at Cedar Point, and I hope this does work for you. We had a little bit of issue with the videos I showed you already on the computer, but hopefully the tape will work here for you. So this is a little young Professor Banks singing Bon Jovi's Living on a Prayer. So this was done in the 80s. So just give me a second to cue this up, and I hope that you enjoy this as I wrap up the big 80s. Okay, I'm queuing it up here. I'm going to hopefully hope for the best here. Excuse me. Here we go. There's the music. It's starting. Enjoy, everybody. Taking you back to the 80s here with a little Bon Jovi, Living on a Prayer, sung by a very young Professor Banks.
Strike. He's down on his luck, it's tough, so tough. Jenna works a diner all day, working for a man. She brings home her pay for love, for love. Since we gotta hold on to what we got, it doesn't make a difference if we make it or not. We got each other,
All right. Yeah.
And that was me, the graders. How do you like it, huh? Graders.
Okay, so there you have it. I can't believe how young I sounded on that tape myself, but there I was singing that song in the 80s. So I've taken you back to the 80s now. So I hope that you enjoyed this lesson and especially enjoyed the end of the lesson. So next week we're going to get into a new decade, and that's going to be the 90s, all right? So we're going to get into the 90s next week, and so please come back. I hope that you enjoyed this lesson, and until next week, this is Professor Banks saying take care. Professor Banks signing off, and hopefully won't have my cold as much next time. So, till next time.